here. This has been quite an achievement for him here at the Fall Nationals, and it's got to be healthy as far as getting further support from sponsors and potential sponsors. Fiberglass replica bodies draped over hand-built tube chassis. Collectively on the starting line, some 4,000 horsepower. The burnouts have been completed. The crews have backed them up in those hot tracks, and now they advance towards the starting line. Nitro Nick, as he calls himself, Nick Harmon, in the near lane. Double A Dale Armstrong, as the fans have nicknamed him, in the far lane. Fall Nationals competition, second round of funny car racing. The fans holding their breath here for Nick Harmon. They've seen him race many times, but never do very well, and they are off. Dale Armstrong with a good lead. If he can keep it all together and keep it straight, it is Dale Armstrong, the speed racer, in the far lane. And Armstrong records a 6.36 second elapsed time at 232 miles an hour. So Nick Harmon's 6.56, just 0.2 away, 219 miles an hour. The parachutes bring him to a stop, and let's look at it one more time. Now, Harmon may have moved just a few hundredths of a second first, but the Dale Armstrong-driven car in the far lane put its power to the ground quicker and just kind of drives away from mid-track on. Again, it's a 6.36 for the winner, Armstrong, at 232 miles an hour. And here comes the second round of the factory hot rods. Pro Stock, the official class designation, and in the far lane, the four-time world champion Bob Glidden. But he may not win it in 1980. There's another driver chasing him hard. More about that later. Tower lane is Kevin Roddy. It's Ford versus Chevrolet. Kevin Roddy in the Chevrolet from Tucson, Arizona. And what an upset this could be. If that Chevrolet wins, these people will go crazy. It is the Ford Fairmont of Indiana's Bob Glidden from behind. Oh, the fans were on their feet as it appeared that Roddy might have a chance against the most dominant driver Pro Stock Racing has ever known. Both of them with the wheels in the air. The wheelie bar is keeping them from going any higher. And obviously Kevin Roddy was out ahead of Glidden. What many men have done that, few have beaten him to the finish line. Here's the powerful Ford making its move. And it's Glidden at 840, 159 miles an hour to a losing 855, 156. Here's another Arizona driver. This is Gordy Rivera with a Chevrolet Monza, heating up the tires on a stationary burnout. The Pro Stockers are not allowed to burn out over the line as the top fuel cars and funny cars do. And the right-hand lane is the only Pontiac Trans Am that I know of in Pro Stock Racing. It's Andy Manarino. Manarino from Detroit, Michigan. Manarino in the far lane. The Chevrolet of Gordy Rivera, Yuma, Arizona, here in the tower lane. They've come to the Fall Nationals from some 35 states. Staged and ready. The winner here will meet Glidden in the semifinals. That's not much to look forward to. And it's Gordy Rivera and Andy Manarino. A beautiful green light start. No hole shot for either driver. And at the far end, we pick them up. It is, I think, yes, it is, the far lane. Andy Manarino, the Trans Am at 8.46 seconds, 157 miles an hour. That'll be a challenge for Glidden. And 8:59 in the tower lane for the Chevrolet of Kevin Roddy at 155 miles per hour. And here's why the fans love Pro Stock. Not only make against make and driver against driver, but this kind of squeaky tight racing. Winning by, what, a fender? Is the far lane, Andy Manarino. Okay. On the course right now is Butch Leal and Frank Iaconio. Leal in a Chrysler product in the tower lane, but it is Chevrolet, the defending Fall Nationals champion, Frank Iaconio from Chautauqua, New Jersey. And he ties Glidden's time with another 8.40. And one of the best speeds we've seen from the Pro Stocks, 160 miles an hour for the Chevrolet of Iaconio. And here is the points leader for the World Championship. In the near lane is Lee Shepard of Arlington, Texas, up against a local driver, Gary Hugh from Tacoma. And Gary is not even in the hunt against a man who very likely will be number one when the season is over in Pro Stock, Lee Shepard. Shepard with an 8.39, the quickest time of elimination, 158 miles an hour, and he advances into the semifinals. More drag racing action from the Seattle International Raceway. The Fall Nationals Drag Races has everything, including a rare glimpse of the sun for these Northwest fans, and don't they just love it? The college football season is going hot and heavy, and you'll have the best seat in the house for several top games each week if you're a member of the ESPN team. Great games featuring the likes of national powers Alabama, USC, and Penn State, and great names like Jim Simpson and Bud Wilkinson bringing them your way each week right here on your top-ranked source for sports, ESPN. Here at the Fallnationals, we're now going into what's called the Pro Comp category, and it's just that. It's kind of a half pro, half sportsman. Some guys make their living at it, others just do it for the sport. And these cars are restricted now to alcohol for fuel. There's none of the expensive potent nitromethane allowed in order to keep the costs down and the breakage to a minimum. And the car you're looking at right now will be in this first race in the quarterfinals. It is the world champion, Billy Williams from Torrance, California. A good look at the aluminum Donovan racing engines with custom-made aluminum heads, the injector on top with the scoop, the wing on the back to push down on those rear tires for more traction as the car achieves greater and greater speeds. Without the wing, it would just smoke the tires and probably crash. It just couldn't stay hooked up at all to the pavement. So it will be Billy Williams up against a man who has trekked all the way from Anchorage, Alaska to be with us here. Our ESPN coverage of NHRA's Fallnationals. The last stop on the Pro Tour of 10 races. Lunsford now sneaking out from behind his truck. The motor started. They don't have quite the staccato, groundbreaking sound of the Fuelers or the funny cars, but racing can be closer in this category than any other. They still go through the burnout ritual. Lunsford, first it is and Billy Williams turning his tires into a moving fog bank. Williams won 5 important national events last year, amassed probably $150,000 in prize money. Williams and Costanci in the team. And Williams getting back very quickly. It's a cool afternoon, and Williams wants to keep those tires warm. That's the prime purpose of the burnout. And in that they do not have the awesome low-end power of the top fuel cars, the Pro Comp dragsters use an extra gear, another transmission, so it's a 3-speed. The transmission's located behind the between the engine and the rear axle, and they shift them at just the punch of a button. Bob and Mary Lunsford in the building supply business in Anchorage, Alaska. Bob has been racing for many years and was really one of the top qualifiers. Lunsford qualifying at a 673. He survived the first round with a 675. Billy Williams has been quicker yet, though, qualified number 2 at a 662. So the favorite is in the near lane. Billy Williams, the number 1, designating him as world champion from the preceding year, 79. Here we go. They leave right together, Bob Lunsford and Billy Williams. But it looks to be all Williams on the other end of the racetrack. It is by several car lengths. Billy Williams with low elapsed time of the event for the Pro Comp category, 6.59 seconds, 204 miles an hour. Appeared to be a dead even start. Anytime they carry the front end, the front wheels like you just saw, that means they are really hooked up, as the drag racers call it. No tire slippage whatsoever, and going to come up with a good number. In Williams' case, the best we have seen in this category during qualifying or eliminations, a 6.59 at 204 miles per hour. Billy Williams at the finish line first. Moving along in this quarterfinal round of Pro Comp, here is a local car, Jerry Goddard from the beautiful community of Olympia, Washington, just down the interstate away. And from Canada, Jim Johnson in the far lane, St. Albert, Alberta, Canada. A little different engine combination for Jim Johnson. It's what they call a Rodec power plant. It's patterned after a Chevrolet, but has absolutely no provisions for water jackets, no cooling whatsoever. And the alcohol, menthanol, whatever you want to call it, fuel that these drivers use in their tank burns so cool that they really don't need any water circulating through the engine or even standing in the engine. So Rodec came up with an engine that just didn't carry any water. Now apparently Goddard either cannot get it in reverse, a crew rushing down there to try to push him back. They could stay in competition if they got him back very quickly. Now they're trying to adjust the linkage to get that car out of a forward gear and into reverse. You see Jim Johnson testing it. It's still in a forward gear. This is the Canadian. Back at the line, looking down track, is Jeff Goddard saying, hey, get me the line. I could get a gift here. It could be early Christmas. Now Goddard waiting, and here comes the Canadian, Jim Johnson. I think this crowd is made up of maybe 25-30% Canadians, and they love it. Boy, are they loyal drag racing fans. So getting back on time is Jim Johnson. His tires certainly have cooled off, but this track appears to be so good You wonder if the Pro Comp cars even need the burnout. Very, very tricky racetrack, however. The initial grip right off the starting line is excellent. It's a concrete launch surface, but they only go about 20 feet, and suddenly they have to make a transition to asphalt, and that has been very tricky, especially in Top Fuel and Money Car. The Pro Comps don't seem to be bothered by it at all. So it's the United States, Washington State to be exact, in the near lane. In the far lane is Canada, the province of Alberta. Jim Johnson. They're ready. And it's a beautiful start by both drivers. The Washington car appears to be running away in the big end, and it does. At the far end of the racetrack, 1,320 feet away, the electronic computer tells us, even though we already knew, that it was Jeff Goddard, the blue car in the near lane from Olympia, Washington. The start did not appear to be a factor. Both on time, and boy, they are just about even until mid-course. And the Donovan engine of Jeff Goddard apparently producing more horsepower than the Chevrolet-style Rodak. And he outpowers them in a beautiful 6.62 is the time for Jeff Goddard. I believe that's the quickest he's ever run at 204 miles an hour. The losing time is 6:88 at 200. And the beat goes on as the next pair moves into the burnout area. And in the near lane, it will be from Santa Clara, California, Don Clark. Clark with really an ancient power plant, an iron 392 Chrysler from the middle 50s when Chrysler Corporation offered those in the behemoths of that era. And they really got drag racing off the ground as far as the fuel classes were concerned, and now there's so many better power plants available, much, much stronger. And here you see Don Clark's lady backing him up, keeping him in those burnout tracks. If he does not back up in the exact same tracks he burned out, there's no sense doing it. That's where the track is at its very best. If you were to put your hand on that tire print right now, it would be warm to the touch, quite warm. Up against Don Clark from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, is Kenny Sitko. Here's Sitko, and he is in the far lane. And he has got some smoke coming off that motor. I believe the starting line crew has shut him off. They have apparently some mechanical problems. It would have been dangerous for him to make this run. He could have got oil on the tires and been upside down before he knew it. So it is an early Christmas for Don Clark of Santa Clara, California, as he will make a bye run. A gift, really. He could lose, however, should he touch that center line. You can be disqualified on a single. And now a lot of oily smoke coming out of Don Clark's engine, and he better get the parachute out. There it is. This is a very long racetrack, one of the longest ones on the circuit, just about a mile from starting line to finish line. So the parachute is not quite the factor it could be on some of the shorter courses. Okay, you see Clark leaving very hard, the tires wrinkling up as they should. There are only about 4 pounds of air in these 17-inch wide tires. The car shaking, vibrating just a little bit as the tires try to break loose and can't. And suddenly the motor's starting to give Clark a warning. It appears to be just water. A water cap blowing off the back of the cylinder head there and giving us a rooster tail off the Pro Comp car of Don Clark. So it will be Don Clark against Jeff Goddard later on in the semifinals, and right now here is the final race in this particular round. And it will be an excitable bunch from Salinas, California. They call themselves the Spaghetti Benders. It's the San Paulo family. Son Steve drives the car, and they will be up against one of the toughest Pro Comp cars in all the Northwest, out of Prineville, Oregon, Logger Joey Severance. There's the Spaghetti Benders, and they do get excited. Somebody once said it reminded them of an Italian pit stop. A lot of arm waving, a lot of meaningless signals. They get very, very involved in their Pro Comp racing, and they are really one of the favorites for the first time in national competition here in Kent, Washington. From the lettuce capital of the world, Salinas, California. So the final race in this quarterfinal round of Pro Comp is ready. The engine's being started for Steve San Paulo of Salinas, California, and Logger Joey Severance from Prineville, Oregon, wherever that is. He says it's a town of about 65 people. Not even on the map. Here is Joey Severance in the black helmet looking over, the injector being primed. It's not like a carburetor that has a reservoir of fuel. So you have to get the engine running. Then the high-pressure injector pump takes over, and it runs all by itself. So San Paulo first to do the burnout. Apparently an agreement between the two drivers as to who would start first. Severance's engine being one of those Rodeks we talked about earlier. It has no water jackets at all, so he doesn't want to build quite as much heat in his engine as does San Paulo. And here is Severance. A three-time national event champion, won the U.S. Nationals 2 years ago. Stocky, rough and tough logger. Severance glides to a stop. They don't want to bring him to too quickly a stop. They get to bouncing on those balloon-like tires and can actually do damage to the car. Plus the fuel can surge forward in the tank and cause the engine to die, so they bring him to a nice, gentle stop. This is the first season that reverses have been required in all drag racing cars.